Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Magick, Witchcraft, and Occultism. Now, before we begin, please remember to like, share, subscribe, and click the little notification bell so you never miss an episode, so I stop getting lost in the YouTube algorithm, as I'd really appreciate that. Let us begin. Sign Symbols and Omen was written by Raymond Buckland and published in 2003, and if you remember in Buckland's Complete Guide to Witchcraft, he did not have a lesson or a chapter on symbols. So in my opinion, I think this book was meant to fill in a blank spot in his body of work. Now, I just did a book on Raymond Buckland, so why am I doing another one so soon? That's a good question. Now, I'm going to be doing a compare and contrast. The next book review I'll be doing is another book on symbols called The Illustrated Signs and Symbols Sourcebook, an A to Z compendium over 1,000 designs by Adele Nozdar. I think I said that right. Now, both of these books cover signs and symbols, but they are very different from one another, so I thought it would be good to give you a compare and contrast, and I thought that might be helpful to you. Let's move on to the cons of this book. The first con of this book is the size of it itself. As you can see, it's quite small. The second major con to this book is that you have a picture of the symbol, and then right underneath it you have a title or its name, and there is little to no description at all. And there easily could have been. And there's a lot of symbols in this book, and you're going to see what I mean shortly. Now, let us move on to the pros. The first pro of this book, there is 244 pages, and it covers a wide range of different symbols from different cultures, traditions, and religions, as well as philosophies. The second major pro of this book is that it has exceptionally good structure. It's all alphabetical, or in alphabetical order. And it goes from alchemy to ancient Egypt to astrology and so on. And all the different chapters go in that order. So that's really nice. And then in each one of those chapters or sections, you have all the symbols associated with that culture or whatnot. So that's what I mean, it has really good structure associated with it. The third major pro of this book, it's really good for beginners. If you're an initiate within your first year and a day, or a dabbler, or maybe even a novice if they're just starting to really get into symbols, this is a really good book for them because it's very simple. It doesn't have a lot of detail, so they'll see the picture of the symbol and the name, and then might be able to help you memorize it easier if there's not a lot of information associated with it. Now, at the beginning of each chapter, he writes an introduction to it. Now I'm going to put the first page of the introduction on the left-hand side of the screen, and I'm going to put one page that shows you some of the symbols on the right-hand side of the screen. And you're going to see what I mean by there's not a lot of detail in this book, but it'll give you enough to get started. And that's what matters, especially if you're just starting out on your path or you're just starting out on the practice of magic itself. So, let us begin. I'd like to share a quote with you from the introduction. This quote is going to help encapsulate the spirit of this book. The metaphysical field is replete with symbols and sigils, many of them incomprehensible to the untrained. In the field of witchcraft alone, there are degree systems, atami sigils, pentacle signs, and many more. Ceremonial or ritual magic contains a host of signs and symbols, together with such things as magical alphabets, magical squares, and talisman markings. Intricacies of the Pennsylvania Dutch's hex signs. There are many fantastic secrets to uncover. The first chapter is on alchemy, pages 1 to 18, and it covers 116 symbols, which is a simple picture and a name. But to be fair, that's mostly what you need to know about alchemy, except when you have to interpret the symbols in combination with each other. That's where it gets a little tricky, and he doesn't mention any of the actual interpretation needed to be used for alchemy symbols in combination. These symbols can be used to make ciphers or codes that can be passed along in plain sight. In Chapter 2, he covers symbols on ancient Egypt from pages 19 to 30, and he covers 83 symbols in total. The first 23 characters is the Egyptian alphabet from pages 21 to 23. The rest of the chapter is a picture and a name on the symbols. On page 30, he explains what a cartouche is in a brief detail. Chapter 3, he covers symbols on astrology. From pages 31 to 39, he covers the zodiac signs and the 7 symbols of the planets and a handful of other miscellaneous symbols as well. In Chapter 4, he covers the Australia Aborigines from pages 39 to 42, and he only covers 5 symbols, but he does go into some brief description on these. Chapter 5, he covers the Aztecs and the Mayans from pages 43 to 59. Once again, it's a picture and a name, with a handful of descriptions when moving from one topic to the next. Chapter 6, he covers Buddhists from pages 61 to 66. He covers only 10 symbols, but he does give a description for each of them in varying levels of detail. In Chapter 7, he covers the Celts from pages 67 to 71. He covers 6 symbols with a reasonable amount of detail in the description for each of them. Chapter 8 covers ceremonial high magic from pages 73 to 100. He covers 167 symbols. The section is separated into several headings explaining different sections in ceremonial high magic. Once again, it's a picture and a name with no detail or explanation of what the symbols mean. You might be noticing a trend by now. In Chapter 9, he covers the Chinese from pages 101 to 105. He covers 15 symbols, and there are 3 headings separating them in the chapter. Chapter 10 covers Christianity from pages 107 to 113. He covers 25 symbols. Once again, it's a picture and a name. 4 of the symbols come with a short description, though. In Chapter 11, he covers Freemasonry from pages 115 to 123. He covers 15 symbols, and most of them come with a brief description as well. Chapter 12 is Gnostics from pages 125 to 128. Covers 5 symbols, and each of them come with a brief description as well. Chapter 13 is on the Greeks and the Romans from page 129 to 136. He covers 14 symbols. Each of those symbols comes with a brief description. Chapter 14 is on Hinduism from pages 137 to 138, and there are only 2 symbols in this chapter, and each of those symbols come with their own description. Chapter 15 is on Islam, page 39 to 41. He covers only 2 symbols. Each of them have their own description. Chapter 16 is Judaism from page 143 to 146. He covers 6 symbols. One of them is a notable symbol, which is the symbol of the Tree of Life, which gives a translation from Hebrew to English for what the circle or the sphere means. Chapter 17 is Magical Alphabets from page 147 to 156. He covers 7 magical scripts or alphabets and 11 magical squares. Each of them come with their own brief description and how to substitute numbers for letters, which that part is actually kind of useful. Chapter 18 is on Native Americans from page 157 to 172. He covers 64 symbols, and only 6 of them comes with a brief description. Also, I'd like to mention that he generalized these symbols and he didn't differentiate from one tribe to another, so I don't know how accurate this chapter can really be, to be fair. Chapter 19 is on the Norse, page 173 to 176. He only covers 3 symbols. Each of them come with their own description as well. In Chapter 20, he covers the Rosicrucians from page 177 to 182. He covers 7 symbols and 1 magical alphabet, which is specific to the Rosicrucians themselves. Chapter 21 is Runic from pages 183 to 189. He covers 7 Runic languages. Each of them come with a translation into English, but they doesn't contain any individual symbols or runes, and doesn't come with any of even the Runic name or their individual descriptions. Chapter 22 is Shinto from page 191 to 193. It covers 7 symbols. Only one of them has a brief description. Chapter 23 is on the Sikhs from page 195 to 196, and it only covers 1 symbol with a very brief description. Chapter 24 is on travelers from page 197 to 204. This chapter covers symbols relating to the Roma or the Gypsies. It covers 45 symbols with a brief description. At the end of the chapter, it gives some context to how the symbols are meant to be used. Chapter 25 is on Voudoun, generally referred to as voodoo, and there isn't a slight difference, but we're not going to get into that. From pages 205 to 212, it covers 9 symbols. Each of them have their own description. Chapter 26 is on witchcraft from pages 213 to 226. It covers 31 symbols. Most of them come with a description. Special notation. He covers the Wiccan altar under the Pennsylvania Dutch and the double spiral, and he was gracious enough to gift each of them a small paragraph. Chapter 27 is on omens from page 227 to 244. This chapter covers descriptions on a simple ritual and how to interpret omens. It then goes into some description on animals, birds, insects, weather patterns, and objects and events, and how they can be used for interpretation of omens for a very simple ritual. Okay, as you can see, he didn't have a lot of overlap in this book, with the exception of putting a description at the beginning of each chapter, and that's if you even count that at all. If I was going to recommend this book to someone, they would have to be either an initiate or a dabbler, as the information in this book is extremely basic and simple. Anything beyond those who are just starting out on their path of magic, this book simply does not give enough depth of information on any symbol. So this book is a little bit more than a beginner's guide to symbols. It's not bad, but I wouldn't recommend it to a novice, a practitioner, or higher than that. It really is for those who are just starting out. So it will help you really memorize the names of the symbols and what they look like, and that's about it. So it's really a starting point for deeper research, and when you get another book on symbols, you'll at least have something to compare it to, and that's really good in of itself. So that's why in the next episode I wanted to go over another book on symbols, so you can really see a comparison between 2 different authors on the exact same topic. So as always, I wish you all the very best of luck with your research, and go in peace.